one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. I am Boi Crypto, and I have here with me, as always, my co-pilot, Crypto Ewok. We have a great show for you guys tonight. Chiefly, we are going to discuss, as you can see on the thumbnail, is this your final chance to get these bargain barrel basement prices for the PulseChain ecosystem? We've talked about October a lot. Some people are feeling Rectober so far. Hey, it's October 11th. We got a long way to go. There's a lot going on in markets and in the world, of course, right now, which we're going to get to all angles of this evening. But that's going to be the main question is, hey, we're now officially in Q4 of 2023 before the year of the Bitcoin halvening. So how much time do we have left? We're going to get into all of that and more. Shout out to everybody in the chat tonight. We got Tan Cups. We got Daddy Hexler. We got all the other names are gone off my screen now. DJ Moonboy, of course, as always. So welcome in, everybody. Smash the like on your way in and hit us up with comments, questions. We want to hear from you guys tonight as well. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening? What do you feel about the markets and everything going on? It's a crazy time for sure.
Yeah, I've been a little crazy. Lots going on in the world, but all in all, I think it's, I hate to say it, I think it's bullish. Things are going to be looking up here. And the sentiment is starting to flow across the Twitterverse, the X-verse, I should say.
Right.
Starting to feel a lot of sentiment. And you know what happens when you get a couple green candles? It propels everybody to kind of try and get in on what they've been forgetting about. So
that's right. Yeah. You get a couple green candles, then you get a couple more and a couple more after that. So, yeah, for sure. And I am in agreement with you on where I think the market's going to be heading here. Let's actually take a look real quick right now at BTC and ETH. We'll see kind of where we are price-wise with everything. So there has been a dip really over the last couple of days. Nothing dramatic necessarily, but Bitcoin sitting at 26.8K right now. We have ETH at 1567. Looking at the PulseChain ecosystem, so we have had a drop down over the last couple of days, but looks like maybe we've hit the bottom of that little drop, and still it hasn't been anywhere near a full retracement to where the lows had previously been. Basically, we have Pulse sitting at 4 zeros and a 4-1. Pulse X we have at 4 zeros and 1085. It's kind of hovered right around there. Hex on a PulseChain is down to that 7.5 tenths of a penny. And eHex has really struggled on this dip. It's down just a touch below or right at that. I mean, it's right in that same range of 0.3 of a penny, basically. But we've seen this dip over the last few days. And it sucks so much. We might as well just start there as far as price performance, Ewok. Somebody commented this on one of our videos the other day, and I thought the same thing. It was on Friday because I was watching it as well. We had been pumping, if you can remember this far back, at the end of the week last week, and right when Pulse got to that 4 zeros and a 4.8, one of those key levels that we're seeing if it can blast through and get back up over that 50% off discount from the SAC rate, it just got bitch slapped basically back down from there, and people started selling again. Now we've still hung out in the same channel. It's not like a whole new pattern developed or anything like that. But yeah, just that very, very clear resistance. I bought a nice bag of Hex, actual Hex, on Friday, right at that 8.5, 10, basically another tenth of a penny than where we are right now, because I thought we were maybe going to smash through, because we have been talking about like this is the liftoff coming here, and I thought that was going to be it. took one on the chin a little bit in the very, very short term, whatever. It's like a 12% dip. But anyway, and I staked it out too. So whatever. But yeah, what do you think about this? Like we still have resistance at that level. How many more times are we going to go up and touch it? And is it going to be even, further resistance, do you think? Or are we going to smash through that level here?
Well, it depends. It depends on how many sellers that are just anxious to get out. As we noticed, I think one of the big sell the other day was from one or two wallets. I'm not seeing it on this chart for some reason, but either way, one of the big sells was from one big wallet. They dumped several billion in one shot, and it got eaten up pretty good. It didn't drop too far, surprisingly, but it's that time of year. Like I said, you're unfortunately now's the time you want to be DCAing, but you could potentially, be somebody's exit liquidity because they want out. So until we wash some of these guys out, or get enough big buyers where they say, "Oh, hang on, I may not want to sell quite yet." That's kind of the breaking point that we're waiting for. So we're getting there. It's close, but it's going to chop around like this for another month or two. Hopefully, 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and before you know it, it'll slowly stair step, and people will get left behind and be like, "Oh shit, I wish I would have bought whenever it was whatever." You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at, and it's going to be kind of boring here for a little bit, but DCA, DCA, DCA.
Yeah, and in terms of the liquidated thing, I mean, it's really on such a short time frame anyway. Like I said, I mean, I bought basically right at that key level where I thought we were about to blast through, and then it came back down a little bit. So, I mean, as long as we stay kind of in this channel and over pulse at the quad zeros and a 4, I mean, that is a move up from where we had been previously. The all-time low was the 4 zeros and a 3 or something. But you can see just looking at the chart right there. I mean, we have constantly since I can't see the date there. Like, basically mid-September or at the beginning of September, we've kind of just had stair steps here, and you can see it. And now we've got a green candle. That's the daily.
It's slow, and it's this is the daily, and this back here was that day you were talking about where it was September or August 26th, and from there, you go up a little bit and you pull back, but it's a little bit higher, and you go up a little bit and you pull back and a little bit higher. So hopefully, you keep seeing these slightly higher lows, and it's slowly the little bit of higher highs, and like I said, before you know it, you're up to 0.005, and then you're taking off again, and maybe pull back to this level in here, the 4.5, 4.6 area, and it goes up again. So it's part of the cycle that we're going to see. But again, you always run the risk of catching one of those where it pumps up a little bit right before it pulls back, and you end up being somebody's exit liquidity. Don't forget, there's traders out there too. There's new products out there that are buying shorts and placing longs and shorts, and so pulling liquidity for some buys, and then they'll put it back in to firm it up a little bit. There's a lot of people playing games, so you got to be aware of that as well.
Yeah, that chart is looking pretty good, though. I mean, that stair stepping up we've seen since the 26th, like you said. And again, Ewok, we mentioned this last week, but I mean, that when you zoom out even further on that, you obviously see the huge red candle on July 31st. There's not a lot of space in between there because it was such a precipitous drop off. So you're right. I mean, if we get close up over that 4 zeros and a 5 and then start taking off after that, I mean, there's not a lot of room there. So it doesn't mean like necessarily have to ape in right now, but I do believe that maybe particularly this month, but this quarter overall, which again is a long time frame, even for crypto, 3 months. I mean, I personally am trying to DCA as heavily as possible right now. So that's just kind of where we are. And there's a lot of things going on, obviously, that we're going to talk about that are extremely serious, that are affecting the whole world, that nobody can deny. We're seeing it everywhere right now. We're going to talk about that and how it is affecting markets and things. But let's just shift to that now. We have other macro stuff with actual economic policy to get to too. But with these international tensions right now, and we're not obviously going to give, opinions about what is going on there other than what I think we all agree with, which is that just is all terrible and sucks and is horrible to see. And I guess like if there's anything for me to gripe about, and I shared this with you, Ewok, I saw somebody else tweet about it. I'm sure there's something I can do settings wise just to alleviate this, or who knows, maybe I need to see it. I don't know. But just like to be scrolling through Twitter and, you're expecting to see updates of maybe what's going on here. And I'm seeking some of them out on YouTube and things like that to figure out what's going on. But just to see dead bodies, frankly, just out of nowhere when you're mindlessly just on Twitter is very jarring, unexpected. And it just seems, I'm so conflicted with this because it seems like not appropriate, but it's also like, hey man, this is going on. I don't know. It's such a, one thing I've learned through this and other things like this in the past is to like stay away from having any concrete opinion on anything, and that nobody's necessarily right or wrong. But all I can say is it's extremely jarring to just see that stuff out of nowhere, no warning or anything. And it's just, what do you say? I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't do a double take at some of them just to see what is going on. But when it starts to involve kids, that's where it's like, I can't do this. It's hard to do that in the middle of your day. But what are your kind of just reactions to everything you're seeing there now? Obviously, I'm not trying to get you to give opinions on choosing sides. I don't think we're really trying to do that at all. But yeah, what do you think about this scenario, and how could what's happening right now affect markets as a whole? Not just crypto, but just the world, and how all these markets are, as I ask an extremely selfish question.
Yeah, well, no, I get it. I mean, that's why we're all here in the first place. But, everybody's got some compassion built in them. And, when you do see things like that, I'll bring it back a little bit. Many of us do get our news from Twitter, from X now, because of the whole C19, and we don't know what to believe. And you really have to struggle to find the sources that are credible, because unfortunately we just don't know what kind of narrative's being pushed, or who's really behind it, or what's going on. But ultimately, when you see a father carrying his deceased daughter in his arms, it's heart-wrenching and it's tough. As for who's behind it and whose side you're on, yeah, exactly. I don't know that we want to take a, stand on either of those. That's not why we're here. But again, it's hard because, people play on emotions.
Yes.
And that's how it works. That's what gets the views. That's what gets the people behind it in the direction that they want you to kind of to be on. So, yeah, it's tough as far as the overall markets. We know historically that war is good for markets, and you can look at any chart after any war. And as far as I'm concerned, it goes to be almost like a, well, it's a cycle that unfortunately puts a lot of printing money back into the economy. Now, you got the Halliburtons and the Lockheed Martins and companies like that, that are, if you haven't bought any of their stocks, you might want to do that, because these could go up, as a Boeing and Raytheon and all of those. So, again, historically, it's like a quantitative easing almost, but don't get too caught up in it, because they'll probably raise rates on us, meanwhile printing money for these wars. All in all, though, I think it's going to be good for the markets. As much as we hate war, it is good for the economy. So, yeah, I mean, that's the warmongering establishment that we live in. It is what it is. I think a lot of people got tired of the rates going on, and so we got to do something. And I hate to say that, but it's quite the possibility of well, we gotta inject some money in here somehow. So I really think that's what's happening.
You never know. But yeah, one thing I agree with you on, and I told you before the show, like you are seeing everywhere, like just looking at different people on Twitter, and I'm not even talking about just like crypto people or just people within Hex or anything like that. But the one common thing I feel like I'm seeing, maybe I'm in a little, silo on social media, but it's just a lot of people echoing exactly what you said, which is like, I want to know more about what's actually going on here, because I think this is this is so visible and so intense. Not that we haven't had another war raging on now for almost 2 years. But this is new, and a lot of it's breaking right now, and people just don't know where to go to understand what's really happening. And that is such a terrible thing, I think, like that so many people are doubting media sources, but also I'm glad that this many people are waking up and realizing that, like, well, I'm not going to watch Fox News because they're going to tell me this. I'm certainly not going to watch CNN because they're going to tell me this. Where do I go? And that's where I think it is a beautiful thing that we have a lot of independent, content creators on YouTube even that have covered like politics and tensions like this in the world too. I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with the Styx Hexenhammer 666 channel, which sounds a lot worse than it is. But if you know him, he's been around for a long time and covers this stuff independently really, really well, and gives pretty unbiased takes, in my opinion. Yeah. So it's been good to kind of follow his coverage of it. But yeah, you got to, in these times, you really have to look for an independent, reliable source. And isn't that a loaded sentence? I mean, it's very hard to do that these days.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah. And then you look at what's going on in Ukraine that's been going on. And I think, I think Ukraine's losing a lot worse than what they say they are. Russia's got the force of many, many, many millions of more people just lined up, ready to go. And again, unfortunately, I think that could be part of the reason why this has all come about. So just a hunch, but
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see how that continues to rage on. Not fun for anybody, but as far as markets, yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I mean, I think that this is, nobody within government or anything will say this or use the term quantitative easing or anything like that. But yeah, through these vehicles, I think we will start to see another excuse for the money printing to start. Turning our attention kind of more to what you were just saying about rate hikes and things like that. I want to go back to last Friday again here. So the U.S. jobs report came out last Friday, and it was a shocker, actually. The September jobs report was extremely high, and expectations of another rate hike in 2023 of the two meetings that are left, people are starting to suspected that it may happen again. Now, it is only a 14% or the 12% chance. It looks like the market is pricing in right now of a rate hike at the next meeting, which is a short 3 weeks away. November the 1st is when we'll see that. But the Fed is kind of already airmailed, and people's feelings are that this is going to mean rate hikes last longer, though. So while before we thought that the pivot would start to happen probably just right after the Bitcoin halving last year, lining up next year, lining up pretty much perfectly by like June or so of next year. Now we're starting to think that, well, maybe we won't see we've had pauses already, but an actual reversal to cut rates until maybe deep into the summer of next year. So what do you make of that, Ewok? Because it is interesting, like you said, while the money printer might come back on, we still may have rate hikes coming, or at least hike at some point next year. Just a very odd place to be in. What do you make of that? Because it's two things that aren't going in the same direction, it feels like.
Pac-Man pretty much summed it up. Messed up world. As some of these companies, like we said, get richer and richer, they're gonna nail the smaller guys with the rates. You're not going to be able to borrow the money, like you thought you could. And, we're looking into probably July, August now, instead of, May or June, where we see some sort of easing up or actually lowering of the rates. And, it really depends on how long this war in Israel goes, and how much gets injected to see if it really plays a part with the rest of the markets. Could be interesting just to see, the job market's still strong, and they don't like that. Unfortunately, if they get back to the numbers they want to get back to, that means a lot of people losing their jobs. Well, the market's still strong. So they're struggling to raise them too high because everything is already overpriced. But at the same time, to get where they need to be, jobs got to go down, and it's just not happening. So I don't know what happens, man. If it continues to go up, do they just throw up their hands and say, what now? Like, what do we do? Just give the people what they want and let's get on with this. Or do they just keep dragging it out? And, I'd like to think there's enough big money investors in the world that, we all know they've got pull in the government and what happens with the Fed. So, it's going to be interesting to see how long they drag it out. I can't think it goes on forever. At some point, it has to end, no matter if we get to that target or not.
Yeah, they're going to give up at some point. I mean, like this whole, their solution, they've kicked the can so far down the road for so long that money printing is really the only way out of it. And that's what's going to happen. So if that just means that the timeline is pushed back by like a quarter or something, well, Jesus, I mean, we've already been waiting quite a long time here. So it's kind of just one of those things where, hey, just keep watching the calendar, keep DCAing and sit back and chill. As tough as that is to do some days, for sure. So we'll see where that goes. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, smash the like. We very much appreciate it. We do this every single Wednesday night here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We weren't going to talk about this topic at all, really, but now I think it's necessitated it with some of the news that we've seen come today from the trial. But this SBF case, this has really been something that, people like us in DeFi really don't care about, because these are, talk about different people that have been gone after by the SEC. Here's actual real criminals that do deserve jail time that are on trial right now, but we don't really concern ourselves with them because we don't have anything to do with them. But now there's some interesting stuff coming out that I think necessitates a conversation that affects us and everybody who has been in this market for the last few years. So I guess Caroline, is it Ellison? Yeah. Fox that she has been testifying for the better part of today, I believe. And so the big news that actually came out today is that I'm trying to remember exactly how she worded this, but that she was ordered to purposely attempt to suppress the BTC price below 20K. This is back about a year ago now, if you guys remember. This is when all this was really going on. By selling customers' funds. So by actually selling their crypto to keep Bitcoin, the whole thing, all of Bitcoin below 20K, all on their own. And then, so that's the first angle of this, which I want to get your reaction to, Ewok. But then also, which just came out a little bit ago, I saw Sami tweeted this. So we're all just kind of hearing this Caroline stuff over the last few hours. But Caroline drops a bombshell that U.S. regulators promised SBF that FTX would increase its market share by the regulators illegally helping to shut Binance down. So we all knew that something was going on between Binance and FTX. We heard about bank runs at this time last year. There was a lot going on when FTX started to go down, where CZ, it sounded like, was speculating to swoop in and take things over. I don't know. The corrupt SEC has been revealed as a dingleberry. That's just me reading Sami's tweet. I didn't know what I was going to be reading there. And Gary Gensler must be fired. Well, yeah, we definitely agree with that. But yeah,
would you just look at that babe? I mean, look at her. She's beautiful.
That is a hell of a rendering right there. I don't know who drew that, but that is one hell of an. That person definitely infatuated some of the some of the way she looks. It's almost like a cartoon in a magazine or something. Direct quote from Ellison. Sam said that he thought that was one of the best potential ways for FTX to increase market share. Regulators had been promising him this would happen for a while. So, hey, Caroline, baby, tell us everything we already know.
Right.
That the SEC, Gary Gensler, FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried were in bed the entire time, maybe even literally, with a lot of the things that we have heard. And yeah, now it's all coming out, and this thing is not over yet. She is spilling the beans.
Yep.
So
the tea.
Yeah. What do you make of all this? Because again, prior to this, I didn't really care. I don't think you really cared about it. I haven't heard anybody in our ecosystem really talking about it. But this is now getting to a point where it's like, wow, here's what you guys were doing, and it's even worse than we thought.
Yeah. Well, we know how much money they gave to all the politicians, right? And we know how much of it was very one-sided to the group that was operating the shit, what was the name of it? Even where they
Alameda?
were. No, not Alameda, but the Operation Choke Point is what I was trying to come up with there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They were trying to kill the prices of Bitcoin, evidently. Now, who was behind it? Was it really the politicians who wanted to kill crypto? Was it someone like BlackRock, who was maybe trying to get in at a better price and invest while it was still low? Have more time to do that? It's hard to say. I mean, there's a lot of speculation that could be made on this, but none of it is good. None of it is natural or organic growth of any kind of thing. As much as we aren't in Bitcoin, you still hate to see the price of things suppressed like that, because it does affect the rest of crypto. As one thing goes up, the rising tide lifts all boats, and we know that. And it's just unfortunate to see that some of these things, there's talk about this developer person who got involved. I read part of I'm going to have to go back and read it, but there's conversations that she was given out on one of the developers too, who became way more involved than they wanted him to. And he started doing some funny business as well. So yeah, it goes deep. And, to answer your question there, DGen, she doesn't. I think it was just the illustrator's version of that. But yeah, it didn't look good. But, she's very intelligent. She has an extremely high IQ, just like Sam does. They went to MIT, I believe. And yeah, it's just unfortunate how markets can be manipulated like that, especially using other people's money, not even their money. It wasn't like they were manipulating the price on their own. They were using customer funds to sell the price of Bitcoin down, to hold it down. Maybe they had a short. Maybe they were, we all know they placed some really terrible limit orders and things like that, and a lot of them got wrecked. So, and she was behind a lot of the trading that ended up losing money. So that's another possibility. Again, there's a whole bunch of theories out there as to who was doing it, why, and who paid them off to do it. Again, none of them are good for the markets, and I'm glad that they're getting their time in court, and hopefully they'll be in jail soon, both of them.
That's what happens when you let the chicks do the trading, I guess. But definitely a sad situation overall. And I'm glad this is on display at this point. I mean, I remember people throughout the rest of earlier this year saying that, oh man, that trial is going to be going on. It's going to be really bearish for crypto, which I always thought was kind of just a BS statement. I mean, how can you know? We talked about this before the show. Look at the chart and then somebody can just assign any narrative to it. I don't know. I'm glad this is this public. I'm glad people are seeing what's going on. And I hope and I think that long term, people are going to really understand, like, this has nothing to do with crypto. These are not crypto people. These are people that were out to line their own pockets and steal money. It's not DeFi. It's the furthest thing from it. So, I'm glad we're seeing it for what it is, and hope that it is a lesson for the next market. Now, are we going to have, as Mr. Gensler says, hucksters, fraudsters, and whatever other words he has in that clip?
Con artists.
Con artists. We are going to have them in this next cycle. Gary among them. We are going to have them out there. Who knows how they'll be? But this is why we've had this conversation before. This is kind of why we stay where we are in our little DeFi silo here. And sure, I mean, anybody can invest however they want. If you don't want to invest in Richard Hart products and you're interested in some other DeFi type thing, that's fine. But I would just want to ensure that you are doing things actual in a DeFi way, which is what crypto is actually meant to be.
Yep.
Don't be leaving things on these exchanges. I mean, everybody here knows that by this point, but hey, who knows? Somebody's going to be watching this stream in about 6 months from now when the market's picked back up and not know what to do. So,
get as far away as the middleman as you possibly can. we've said it again, and it's probably a good time to bring it up again, that you have to use some of these exchanges for your business. I get it. You've got to get in, you've got to get out. But think of it as like you're going into the ghetto to buy something you probably shouldn't be buying. You get in, you get out, you get in, you do your business, and you get out. That's probably the safest way. And even then, there's a risk of something going down or not being able to get your money out. But that's it goes without saying, and probably people don't say it enough. Spend as little time as possible on these centralized exchange platforms.
Yeah. So I'm sure more is going to come from this. That'll probably be even worse and juicy as well. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on it and talk about it next week, but certainly not fun stuff to learn from all this. So speaking of drama, we can just kind of acknowledge this really quick. I honestly have lost the plot at this point. I don't even know what the plot is or where it's going, but I have a more interesting point, I think, about all this. So anybody on Twitter may have witnessed this week some of the Buck Fiat versus B-Root stuff. I guess that's where the initial thing is stemming from. And then there was a tweet by that one account the other day that we were discussing privately, Ewok, that was showing some Telegram group that had like a bunch of hexagons in it that may or may not be doing this. I don't really know what the person was trying to claim was going on. But I think the Buck from Fiat and B-Roots thing has been, I haven't seen a lot of it. So I think that it was mostly good-natured at first. I know they kind of had like a debate about where PulseChain could go over the next few years. That was a couple of months back or so. I'll be honest, I have no idea what's actually going on with this anymore, and I don't really care that much. But maybe somebody in the chat could fill us in. But to me, the good takeaway of this, because it's not just those two, is like with how much people are kind of going at each other's throats and talking about this Telegram thing. I mean, it is signs of a fervent community either way. Like there are people just going after each other hardcore in this ecosystem. And maybe why you don't like to see that, and we hope we're all on the same page. It's nice that people are this excited about different products and how they should be handled and whether this one's a scam or that one's a scam and blah, blah, blah. I'm just interested in the fact that people are this passionate in this community. I would rather see it be actual, I guess, passion in terms of, just DeFi as a whole. But if people are, I guess this just speaks to where we are at the end of the bear market here, where, it seems like this has been a year we've been saying this, but
sure,
people are just down this low where, and I'm seeing thoughts about like, never do screenshots. If there's something private, it's meant to be private. Don't do screenshots, but the Telegram group was open. I don't know. I don't even understand the Telegram group. I don't know where this thing is at this point. Maybe you can fill us in or know where it is a little bit more, but what do you make of what's been going on here?
Yeah, just a bunch of unnecessary drama between B-Roots and Buck. I don't know. Maybe Brizology can chime in here. He's usually into a lot of the not behind the scenes or whatever, but he follows it pretty closely, a lot closer than I do. I mean, it's just got to be I think that's what happened at first. They saw this group of people. Most of them were more OG hexagon folks. I saw some names in there. It was funny though. The one name that they didn't show was Richard Hart. And Richard was also in that group at one point.
I think eventually he had a screenshot of it. Yeah, but you're right. I saw that.
So that wasn't one of the first ones, which was kind of a little misleading there. And said that these folks were kind of almost, I don't want to say a pump and dump, but they were getting the inside scoop on what was going on. Well, if they're friends talk. Like, so yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen no matter what, whether you want to see it or not, or whether you believe it's not going on. I'm sure it is everywhere. In every ecosystem, there are the people in the know. And apparently somebody got their feelings hurt because they weren't probably in the know and felt like maybe they were being taken advantage of, or people were trying to run some sort of pump and dump or whatever it was. Anyway, just again, unnecessary drama between the two. The last thing that I kind of came across this afternoon was them agreeing to keep each other's names out of each other's mouth. And, Buck did say at one point, hey, man, you got to say that a lot of this shit wasn't true, that, none of that, I guess it was colluding was going on in the back rooms there, that, you made quite a mess for me now to clean up. If you could at least say that, that was all speculation and there's no proof of any of that stuff going on, I would appreciate it. So that's where I saw it being left off today. Again, hopefully it, goes away just like any of the other little, fights that the little girls are having. And, the one thing that I will agree with, that B Roots did say was, Buck's project could end up hurting some people. If you don't know what you're doing, please don't leverage trade. It is a dangerous kind of thing, and you can easily get your bags liquidated if you're not really sure what's going on. So that's all I wanted to say about that. If you know what you're doing and you can use the tool to hedge a bet, you got a big bag and you want to maybe play a short just in case the market goes down to offset it. As long as you know what you're doing and you're not using all your bag, then more power to you. But they are dangerous products for a reason, and somebody is going to end up making money. As far as I know, though, these contracts are kind of locked, and it's the users of the ecosystem that actually make out. So it's not Buck. Buck's not, I mean, he probably owns quite a bit of the token that gets paid whenever somebody gets liquidated. But, anybody can buy into that pool. So, if you want to kind of bet against it and you don't like it, well, then maybe make money off the people that are losing. So there's always a good play and a good way to stay safe, but still make out with some of these products. Liquid loans is going to be the same way. I saw a really cool show last night with Maddie, and they had Walrus on talking a lot about liquid loans. And there was some people in the chat that were just upset that, Walrus is going to take all your money. And well, first of all, it's a locked code. It's locked code. The only people that can profit from any of this stuff are the people that put their money into the pool that backs the whole product. Again, locked, immutable stuff that just operates based on code. Not any one person that's going to be able to rug pull. So, again, if you're not interested or don't want to take a loan out, well, then put some money into the pool where the people that do get liquidated because they don't know what they're doing, that's where you're going to profit. So, or just stake it. There's plenty of things to do when it comes to these type of things, rather than saying, well, it's new, I should probably try it out. Yeah, that's not a good idea, especially if you don't know what you're doing. You've got to do your research. You've got to know what's going on, and know how easily one candle can really wreck you, and you end up in a really bad spot. So just some words of wisdom, words of advice for people. The drama does bring out some of these points. It's a long way to get there sometimes, but it does flush out some good advice for people. And unfortunately, like I said, sometimes you got to take a long walk around to get to the point to realize what's actually happening.
Yeah. I think the main other thing to take away from this now, too, is that this month, we've talked about it, is going to be great for PulseChain. I mean, we have all these different things launching. Say what you will about Buck. I mean, like the products actually being out there and working pretty much before almost anybody else is a good thing. Yeah. And then we're also, as you mentioned with Walrus, I did watch that stream with Maddie Allen last night. It was about like 2.5 hours, but I thought it was fantastic. It was good to hear all of their thoughts on everything going on in crypto, for sure. But yeah, liquid loans coming out soon, the Fetch Oracle, more important, as importantly. I mean, I think all this stuff is really bullish. And Walrus, I always like his points. He's very good at kind of zooming out on not just the chart, but just kind of like where we're at mentally with everything and say, look, like this has happened, that has happened, in terms of bad things that have happened with the SEC, which we're going to get to here a little bit in a minute. But hey, all these things are still being built. All those validators are still there. Like, look at the behaviors, not necessarily what the price is today, So yeah, I think those are all great points. And as far as the drama, whatever, I mean, I really haven't been paying attention to it. And, again, my main point, like the fact that there are people this feverish within this ecosystem, I think is good because, you don't have things like this happening in Cardano's world. You don't have things like this happening in Solana's world, a lot of the other L1s and stuff like that. So
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And like I said, it's try and stay away from the drama too, because it does bring you down, man. Reading and seeing people fighting back and forth and bickering, it gets you in a bad headspace, where you're trying to keep positive. You're trying to do the right things for the mentality of staying in a positive mindset, because it is tough. It is hard to go through these markets like this. And when you're trying to keep yourself positive, sometimes reading that stuff can bring it right back down. It kind of, you have to reset a little bit. So stay away from it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I want to transition to this. So RH gracing us with his presence, greasing us maybe a little bit too, but gracing us with his presence here a couple of times this week, at least on Twitter. It was his birthday the other day. We got a little birthday audio message tweet. I'll only acknowledge this thing for a moment because then he had more important tweets, obviously. But the big thing everybody was wondering is, was it AI? Was it really Richard Hart's voice? Was it AI Richard Hart? I don't know. Was there any significance to the picture that he used? I said this to you the other day, Ewok. I love this part of all of his tweets right now. Me being a huge fan of the bands Tool, Pink Floyd, stuff like that. I love I have a long history of like dissecting lyrics and like, what's the deeper meaning in this song? And I feel like we've hit that dynamic with Richard Hart tweets now, where people are dissecting every single angle of it. What does this really mean? What's the code here? And then he uploads an audio and it's like, was that really him or was it just AI? But yeah, what do you make? And we're going to get into his more specific tweets about the upcoming SEC and IRS rulings. But what do you make of his overall kind of shift to AI right now? Do you think it's just purely that he's interested in it, and as somebody who studies markets and is a very smart guy, can see that this is the big wave of this next cycle, which I think it definitely is. A lot of AI stuff is going to be coming. I heard Arthur Hayes last week talk about he has a very large position in a AI sex doll company coming out here over the next few years, and that may be like the biggest boom that we see, which makes a lot of sense with the male-female situation these days. But yeah, so is it that, or do you think is Richard mainly paying attention to this because of some of the things that are going on with the SEC now, and literally with his trying to educate lawyers and things like that using AI? What do you think this shift to that has been for him?
Well, first I want to answer Johnny real quick. He wants to know if we have time to talk after the show. We'll send you the link, or I'll send you the link. I can hang out for a few minutes after the show in the green room. So
I got to go to Betty Bye. I'm an old man.
All right. Well, I can chat for a little bit, Johnny, but I just want to get him answered real quick. So
you watch you taking personal calls here on the live stream.
Yeah. Sorry. So I don't know that the voice message was AI.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was. Either way, he took the time to do it and post it. So even if it was AI and wasn't really his voice, I think he's really into it. I think he understands, like, he's one of those big brain guys to begin with, and I think he understands how it can make the average guy appear to be a big brain person too. I mean, you can see some of the stuff, and he's giving people a lot of tips and pointers on how to use it and how to write these letters, for crypto, for hex, whatever you want to use it for, but to the SEC and to the IRS and things like that. It's been pretty cool. I think he's just enamored with the whole AI thing and trying to get people to use the tools that are out there. He's always been one to say, take advantage of some of these things that are given to you. It's not often that people do good or put good things out for people, and when they do, you should really take advantage of them. And I kind of think that's what he's saying in a lot of his messaging. For him, it can make him sound even more smart than he is, and for the average guy, it can also up your game as well. So there's a lot of good tools. I personally don't think the message was AI. I've heard people say that it wasn't really him posting it, so you guys are foolish for listening to it. Well, if it wasn't, he still took the time to do it on his birthday, and posted it on his on his Twitter. So whatever. Who cares? Who cares if it was AI? But again, he took the time out to say, I hope you guys are doing well. And um, as far as the picture with the thumbs up, I didn't make a whole lot out of it. I didn't really read into it too much. Like you said, you start reading into every little thing now because he's kind of been, hiding in the shadows a little bit. So you got to decrypt things or a lot of times we make things out of nothing. It could be just as simple as a hello, I'm thinking about you guys. Hope everyone's doing good. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. He can't say that because you know what? Richard doesn't read messages. So I think that was a way of him saying kind of thanks for all the birthday wishes that I really don't read. That was my take on it. And that's kind of what I decoded it to be. Because Richard doesn't read messages. He doesn't read the newspaper. He doesn't read anything. So, just wanted to reach out and say hello.
I think that's all it was. Yeah, I'm sure it was just, he probably did imagine that people were wishing him happy birthday and stuff like that and wants to connect in whatever way he can during this time. I think it's kind of similar to, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we were on with Rags, his message at the premiere of the film that he did in Miami. I think that was kind of a similar thing. Just wanted to show appreciation for everybody. And I think that's the one thing that gets lost sometimes. It certainly is lost to people who don't, commonly follow RH or isn't really involved in this ecosystem. Is I don't think those people really know how much he does care about the people that are interested in him and his products and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
He appears very genuine to me. So, more importantly, with his tweets the last couple of days. So he was banging on this drum a couple of weeks ago, talking about these upcoming decisions from the SEC and the IRS on two separate issues. He tweeted about them, which I bookmarked here again the other day, essentially saying that I think there's 20 days left in each one of here. I'm already on my bookmarks. 20 days left in two of these. So the SEC Federal Register and then the IRS one. The SEC is the comment period. They open back up, but you can still, they closed it, but you can still leave comments for it. And then the IRS one as well. I submitted for both of these. I think a lot of people within the ecosystem did. The IRS one is the gross proceeds and basis reporting by brokers and determination of amount realized and basis for digital asset transactions. So you can read the summary. It's a bit of a mouthful. And then the SEC one is actually titled Safeguarding Advisory Client Assets Reopening of Comment Period, which is what they're doing right now. So you can check both of those out. And then Richard goes on to give you ways to make substantive comments using a couple of different AI tools. I prefer the Bing one, but the Claude.ai one is out there as well. This has kind of caused other people to throw out the examples of what they are submitting for each one of those. October 30th is the deadline for both. I thought it was very interesting, and I pointed this out to you, Ewok, that in his right after that tweet, he backed it up with right here. So lawyers proposed rule comments. And then he goes down with 8 bullet points about dealing with this SEC one. He says, what if classes taught at MIT by Gary Gensler with a link to the course were inducements and instructions on how to exchange value? Is this unclean hands? I thought that was a very interesting bullet point of the ones that he had on here. So, what do you make of him going back to this? I love that he's kind of summoning people to say, hey, get in there, make your voice heard, let them know what's going on. And, it's kind of like a preparatory step of say, hey, this is the kind of stuff you're going to be up against, and this is what lawyers will have to say. So have an army of DeFi folks coming after them. So, what do you make of this? And, go ahead.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it allows the average guy to be able to sound very intelligent, almost lawyer speak, and participate. And I think everybody should. If you haven't, you really should. I started to make one. I haven't sent it yet, but I've been kind of working on it when I get a chance. And I will get it in before the deadline. But, you get to see a lot of these people's examples that they've sent, the things that mean a lot to them. And it could mean anything to you. You don't have to use any of the examples. Just use it and have it well written for you. But using Gensler's own words against him I love it. I think it's awesome how, hey, this is the class that you taught people. And now we're saying that there's, the clarity has really gone away. What you said last week doesn't match up with that at all. So which is it? The one you taught in the class at MIT, or what you're saying here on the stand because you're kind of protecting your ass kind of thing. So
right.
Yeah, I love it. I love the dig. But yeah, I really think that as many people should participate as they can.
And not even just a dig. I mean, it's literally pointing out the hypocrisy of Gensler, which we're all, of course, aware of. But it's like, how can you come out here going after all these things now when you have literally taught an entire college course on this, saying the opposite? There's video we've all seen of him calling Ethereum a commodity already from years ago. So, I mean, we know the guy's corrupt. We know the SEC. I don't know if every single one of the people there is corrupt, but hey, guilty by association in this case. So,
well, they haven't done anything about it. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all guilty.
Yeah. And they've taken L after L after L when it comes to crypto. I don't think we're going to see anything different in this case. So, so if you guys have not gotten in there, and I'll go ahead and just leave the links for both of them in there. Not that you necessarily need them from me, since Richard Hart actually tweeted them out, but I'll throw the IRS one and the SEC one in there. Look at some examples from some other folks. If you want to be as lazy about it as just kind of reading somebody else's, trying to understand it, I love using these AI tools. I mean, you could literally just go in there and say, hey, paraphrase this for me, please, and do a copy paste. I would still go over it, make sure you understand the information. I was talking to somebody I know who's a college professor about this kind of stuff earlier today, and that isn't as well versed in using some of these AI tools yet. And they were just like, I know these kids are turning in AI stuff right now.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, yeah, they are. Well, I don't know. I mean, this generation seems to be pretty a lot dumber than ours right now, but they are young. So
there's some smart ones out there. So the ones that are using it are definitely taking advantage of it.
They should be. And but what they should do is the same thing I'm saying here is like, don't just let it spit something out and be like, okay, copy paste, throw it in. I mean, like, understand the information, and what it spit out may have errors, of course. So, make sure you understand that too. But it's a hell of a tool. Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely have to proofread it and look over it. And you can even ask it to make some changes to kind of fit your personality too. If you don't like how it's wording things, say a little bit less lawyer speak, rewrite this a little bit less legal stance. And it'll do it. It's pretty crazy. I used it one time. My daughter we went on a trip during school, and I needed some sort of educational paper writing why we were missing school. And so I had AI do it. It was pretty cool. It spit it out, gave all the reasons and the different things that you could learn educationally from this place that we went to. Listed them. It was great. It was pretty awesome.
That's a really good way to use it. Yeah. Because you don't want, you feel like, well, they're going to think I'm bullshitting or something like that. Right. Like, it just, but at the very least,
it spits out the facts, and that hard to argue with facts.
Even if you don't, again, like the way that it says it necessarily, you can kind of it up a little bit and add in, ways you would say some things. So,
sure.
It's pretty sweet. And really, it's not that far off from like just Googling stuff. I'm noticing with, it gives you even more, but it's making me realize it's like, well, we've been Googling stuff for how many years now? It's kind of like doing that, but just getting it even more curated for what you're looking for. So, I think college will be obsolete, which is fine with me. It's about time, really. What do we got here from D'Artagnan 8? Thanks for the super chat.
Hex, Pulse X. Which of the three will pump the hardest this bull run?
Collect them all first. Well, hey, I own all of them equally, and I have been DCAing into all of them equally. So that's a tough one. I mean, I would say my guess, obviously not financial advice. I'm just throwing something out into the wind here. But I think that of the three, if you want to combine the hexes and then just have each of the other ones, I think Pulse will be the one that will pump the most this cycle. I think if we look 2 cycles into the future, we could see Pulse X maybe being the one that, I don't want to call it a better long-term play necessarily. I just think that maybe it will do more X's from its ultimate low over the course of about 8 years or so. But I do think this cycle that the L1 will likely outperform. But what do you think, Ewok?
Yeah, I think I think it'll be Hex. I really do.
Really?
At
Okay.
0.003.
Just what an OG Hexagon would say.
Well, I do. I think the next
Maxi.
cycle, though, I think Pulse will definitely take that title away. Only because this is Hex's second cycle at 0.003 or even 0.007, whatever. 0.003, you're getting 3 for $1. At a penny, you've 3x'd. At a nickel, you 15x'd. At a dime, you've 25x'd. So, it's going to be, I don't know. I just don't see it. And I mean, just getting back to all-time highs, we're going to have some crazy numbers as far as X's go. I think Hex still pumps the hardest, and I think enough people find it in time by coming to this ecosystem and realizing that Hex is still the store of value. But no financial advice, none. That's just my opinion.
Nice. I do think Pulse will probably pump the most this coming cycle. Ewok, obviously being a Hex maxi as he is going to say Hex. So we'll see. I mean, that's why, nobody knows the answers to this. That's why I just own them all equally.
Well, he wanted us to get our crystal ball out, which, Naga has the only crystal ball that I know. So, and I think it's broken as far as I know.
Well, I think he's on, I forget, is it Tropa? A godsend, and I'm going to sell all my PulseChain for a Tropa, or is it a scam, or because Naga Bo, I've seen it seems like saying doing a 180 a couple times.
Yeah, he's all over the place. I think he's just kind of covered all bases, and depending on what week it is and which casino he lost at
exactly.
This week,
sell this information to this side, sell this information to the other side, and don't let the other ones know. I know the game. Yeah. So anyway, really interesting stuff from RH this week. So for sure, if you guys have time, which, hey, didn't take me that long, 5 minutes or so to submit comments for both of those. Martin von Wundergas. Shout out. Go say hi to Sami and KDP over there for us whenever you get a chance.
Okay. So all those guys.
Yeah. So, if you guys are still here, we still got about 20 minutes left. Smash the like. We appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We have an active chat. There's Philly. Phillies are dominating the Braves again tonight. They're up 2-1 after this win tonight. What does he say here? What's he got for us?
He says, how about the Hex to Hex ratio? Say 0.1 total. Do you think EHEX 1 penny to 2 penny and PHEX 8 cents to 9 cents? No. I think
a pretty big disparity there.
Yeah, I think it closes in. I don't think you're going to be that far off. Again, just an opinion, but I think it. The higher it gets, the ratio could pull a little tighter. I think if you see something maybe at 20 cents to 15 cents, I think it could keep up that way as it increases. I don't think you're going to see it though at like what you're looking at, like eight times, between 4 and 8 times higher, and that's a hell of a ratio to break, especially with the way liquidity is bonded now. I don't see it really going in the opposite direction, only because it's a self correcting system. As far as T-shares go, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but we're now over 30,000 hex per T-share on both chains. So, it will correct, and the T-shares will reward you. And just think, guys, whenever, I forget what the cost of it is. I saw this statistic the other day. When you get a T-share right now, I think you're paying maybe 30,000. You're probably getting it for what, was it $700? Maybe not even that much.
No, I think it's less than that. Yeah.
Maybe whatever it was. But imagine the price of that times whatever it is to get to the all-time high. You're not going to be able to afford one T-share if we get back to the previous all-time high. So it's a self kind of correcting system with the T-share value, the amount of hex per T-share that's a payout. The less people that stake, the more enticing it is for people to get into that side. So again, I really don't see this kind of ratio getting that far off, but I could be completely wrong, but I don't see it getting that out of whack.
Yeah, that would be pretty far. I mean, the worst we've even seen now is pretty much just maybe 2.5 to 1 or something like that
Yeah.
at the worst, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be pretty crazy. I'm basically, I mean, what my approach has been with the two hexes is my E hex has been staked out. I've staked all of it out. You know, as soon as the split happened, basically any that I had liquid, I even staked out just for a year. But I have been buying more, regular hex than I have E hex lately. So we will see. I mean, that doesn't mean I think everybody's a little bit like, not sure what to do with E
Yeah.
hex, but
Probably.
what unequivocally I could say is likely the very wrong decision is to sell any of it. I don't think there's really what trade are you going to make? Well, what are you going to do? That's why I just staked it all. So
Well, I think honestly, a good thing to do with it was what we talked about on the last show, and that was get into the base, um, pool with your hex. It stakes it for you. You can redeem it for whatever the hex is worth, and you don't have to pay those crazy Ethereum fees to end a stake. So, that was a good thing to do. Just holding on to it liquid is a good thing to do, but you're right. Selling it is probably a bad thing to do right now, especially, not saying when we start making some gains that you shouldn't DCA out as well. It's just as important to DCA in as it is to DCA out. So,
yeah. I want to get to this real quick, and then we'll get to some more questions because we have a lot in the chat tonight. So we'll get to you guys in just a second. I want to hit, this was our main topic. We haven't even talked about it really yet. So you guys are kind of leading us into it anyway. But again, we may very well be entering right now the final quarter to buy at these kind of prices. It's Q4 of 2023, the year before the Bitcoin happening. I started this channel a little over a year ago. Basically talking about minimalism as a way of life and ways of saving money to be able to DCA into this market. Since then, people didn't really give a shit about hearing about that. We've always done this show, but we wanted this to really take over the channel. It's better content. People enjoy watching it more. I like doing it more. I think you do too, Ewok. But, we're at the point now where this may be it. This may be our final chance, these 3 months, to really get in at these prices before things take off in 2024. If that's the case, I think we should be talking about doing anything we possibly can to DCA into this market right now. I have on this channel in the past have talked about the fact that, especially with inflation and things like that right now, you can save so much money on what you're eating. Dave Ramsey always talks about eating rice and beans if you're in debt. People will roll their eyes at that and be like, oh, I'm not going to sacrifice my lifestyle. Why the hell not? I mean, if you are down right now and you have asymmetric opportunities at some of the prices of your favorite cryptos right now, we should remember that like any $500 investment in something that you think is good, that is going to go up with with a 30x is $15,000, like in under 2 years. So $500 to $15,000. I think it's good to think of that when you're DCAing into this market right now, to realize like, man, if I have any spare change laying around, if there's anything I can sell around the house, if I can lower some utility bills or something like that, if I can get a second job, get a pay raise, whatever it is, like any
have a yard sale.
Yeah. Whatever it is,
you don't need anymore that you can always buy more of later. It's a good, it's a good opportunity. I don't know if a lot of you know. I haven't seen him in our chat. He hasn't really made an appearance, but Hexdeck 16. His story is he used to clean and detail cars. He would find loose change all the time. And that's what he pretty much invested from the beginning, was his loose change that he had collected from cleaning cars and things like that. Pretty cool story, but it just goes to show you how much a little bit invested here and there at the right times can turn out to be crazy good profits. So yeah, take advantage of it, man. It's not going to be here forever. And, eventually I can see a lot of you guys saying, man, I'll wait till it gets back down to a penny and I'll buy in then. Well, you may never see that price again. So, or may 5 cents or whatever it may be with your favorite crypto, it could be XRP and you're saying, well, I'm going to wait for it to get down to 10 cents. Well, it may never come. It just, That's what people do all the time is they procrastinate and say, I'll get in when it comes back down, and it never does. And then they're mad at everybody else because, oh, you got lucky. So,
Yes.
that's just kind of how it goes.
Sometimes I think it's lost on people that, we're talking about these kind of tips for saving money so you can DCA right now, but also just sticking with something. Like you just said, Ewok, talking about people that, oh, you got lucky because they went somewhere else. Like they weren't around for this part of the market because it's boring. They don't want to wait for it. They want the confirmation from all their friends who already got in to then get back into the market. Somebody in the chat just said fortune favors the bold. I mean, yeah, these buys aren't necessarily going to feel, unless you're real crazy like us. I mean, they're not going to feel all that great, especially if they start going down right away, like the one I just made last Friday.
Sure.
But that's just part of doing business. That's why stop looking at the prices every day. Just look at the calendar. It's still 2023. Basically, this year is just not going to be good. We talked about it since the beginning of the year. This should be an accumulation year. We're still accumulating. This may be the final stages of it. Now, we say that right now. That doesn't mean the calendar hits January 1st and BTC's at 45K or something like that. We may still have a little bit of the first quarter to be able to do it as well. Maybe we even get a pullback again after the halvening. There's going to be ebbs and flows, but you don't want to miss that asymmetric upside to when those green candles start to come and just one after the other, and all of a sudden everybody's FOMOing into the market. It's already done. I mean, like in a matter of a couple of days, what could have been a 30x buy for you is gone in half. Totally gone. Yeah. So don't worry about how wrecked things are.
And the big candle moves always happen within a very short period of time. You're going to see these stair steps up as it grows, but when it really starts to go, it goes. And if you're not already in the position that you want to be, you've missed it. Unfortunately, because now you're just trying to catch it. And that's what happens to the markets, where a lot of people FOMO in and create those big candles within a week or so. Sometimes it's a couple weeks, but either way, that's what causes it, because they were like, shit, here it goes, and I missed it. Now everybody's just dumping into the market, and that's what causes the parabolic upswing. So,
I am basically operating at like a lowest level of an emergency fund that I would be comfortable having at any given time right now. Like I'm just any other piece of money that comes in, I'm just basically putting into the market. And I mean, that's what we're doing. I mean, it doesn't mean that you guys have to do it that way. Whatever will let you sleep at night. But boy, I just don't want to be missing these prices right now. So good convo. Hey, Ewok, did you want to mention, so we new site that we have, is it PulseCoin list that we wanted to check out?
Oh yeah. I was sharing it earlier. Let me bring it back up here. That's what we were kind of looking at earlier. This is
I didn't have this up on my screen when you did it then.
So PulseCoinlist.com, and this is /stats. But it's nice. There's token ranking. There's the ERC versus PRC, multi-charts, the ecosystem. You can check a balance. You can actually buy Pulse. Here's your main coins. Here's the PulseChain supply. It tells you whether we're being inflationary or deflationary, depending on the burn and the issuance. So that's pretty cool. It shows you the gas charges right now. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. Just check it out when you get a chance. I thought it was a pretty cool site, and like I said, there's a lot of different, the token ranking, where it will list here's your like top movers and your PulseChain token ranking. So here's how they're ranked out as far as market cap goes. I think you can filter it by market cap or whatever you want to filter it by.
I like this. It's a really good layout.
When you do that, there is a little bit of a problem here with the numbers getting out of whack. So just be careful of that.
Is this actually the site? Is this the site from back? Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay. So this used to be, I had this bookmarked months ago when Pulse first launched as an ERC20 versus PRC20 comparison, because that
Yes.
was its main draw. And they stopped updating the site. I noticed they weren't updating prices anymore. This is now it again. So they just
Yeah.
did this major update, I
So
guess.
they updated it all. Yeah. But so
Yeah.
that part of it is still there under the
Yeah.
ERC, PRC, and it's back live again. So yeah, just
Nice.
another tool. Again, the community is amazing, building and doing the things that you want to do in a bear market. It's crazy how much growth and how many platforms and how many builders and developers and then even the streamers. You know, if you can't build or be a developer or a coder or anything like that, it's the people that are starting up their new channels, and it's amazing. I can't say enough good things about this community, and for all the hate that we get, it just keeps growing, and that's what's going to win this battle, and it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome, and we have seen, you know, we haven't been streaming since the early days of Hex necessarily, but I know you were there right at the beginning, Ewok, and yeah, there's been so many waves of streamers and stuff this time around. I'm really glad that we've stayed this active and been here throughout the bear market. I mean, I think that's really what will differentiate. Who to kind of tune into and watch and stuff as we get into the bull market, because we're going to have a lot of new faces, I think, coming in by that time. It's going to be such an exciting time. And speaking about like the community and bridges being built and stuff, shout out to Corey Costa the other night was on Ben Armstrong's new channel. Did you see that?
I didn't.
Yeah, he was on. Ben has, I don't know, I think they're still working out the kinks, but he has some kind of new kind of whip around crypto show with I don't know if they're both guys that were at Boi Crypto in the past. I think he knew at least one of them.
Crossfire Crypto or something like that. Crypto Crossfire.
But yeah, Corey was on there the other night and repping PulseChain and stuff like that. So, I'm glad that Ben's doing okay. I mean, we're not necessarily weren't like BitBoy fans necessarily, but hey, I mean, it's a weird situation overall for sure.
Yeah.
Everything that's gone on there, certainly a lot of drama, but hey, we'll definitely back him and his channel versus Discover Crypto any day of the week. And shout out to him too for having Corey on. And even though Ben, I think probably could have given more lip service to PulseChain and Hex over the course of the years. He's certainly been more open than a hell of a lot of other mainstream crypto people. So.
Yeah, well, a lot of that had to do with his sponsorships and things like that. He made a lot of money with Hex in the early days. I think he profited over $60,000, and he sold really early. So he had a bag early and made some excuses of why he sold it. Whatever, it's fine. The problem I had with him is that he would always say, well, it's too complicated. But I think it was just because that his people and his sponsors didn't want him talking about it, even though he probably had a secret bag. They just didn't want him talking about it. And he fed into that whole gatekeeping issue that, that we find a lot of, people that have sponsors are in.
Right.
It is what it is. They're paid to talk about certain things, and they get in trouble when they talk about others. So
yeah,
it's all right. We'll break through, and the walls will come down eventually.
I think they definitely will. And we've had that discussion about how an L1, even though we obviously have always thought Hex was totally legitimate, in the eyes of all crypto. But, I think having an L1 and a DEX and all that stuff from Richard now, I think that some of these big channels, they probably never will. The Banklesses of the world and the, they're total garbage. But, with some people, I think that'll bring more credibility in their eyes, and they might have to actually acknowledge it. But hey, if you want to just keep being dumped on by Optimism and Arbitrum and stuff like that, and cover all these other layer 1s and 2s and stuff, and not PulseChain, that's totally fine. I mean, we're actually starting from the bottom.
Right.
Not that we don't get dumped on, clearly, that has happened by people that had bigger bags and stuff, but at least we know there wasn't like all these hidden seed rounds that we weren't privy to. And, at some point they're just going to be unlocked and dumped on our heads. So, is that anyway. So,
yep, for sure.
Cool. Well, I think that pretty much covers it here tonight. I was just doing one final scan of the chat. Hey, we appreciate it. A lot of guys in the chat tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
do us a favor, hit the like on the way out. It helps us get kind of boosted up there in the algorithm, and just shows everybody it's a statement for real DeFi. Supporting this channel, supporting Sami, supporting Crypto Coffee, supporting Matty Allen, like all these other channels. They're all, of course, way bigger than us. Corey Gary, all these different people that are out here streaming. If you're not liking, commenting, just doing something to boost up the PulseChain algorithm, I think we're all missing an opportunity. I've been trying to do better with that myself, just to give shout outs on other people's streams, because I think it really does make a big difference. It makes a difference to them, makes them feel good, knows you're out there watching and everything, and we appreciate real DeFi. So,
and don't forget to go to creedocrypto.com and pick up a Creed Crypto t-shirt and support us that way too.
Grab some clothing. Doesn't have to be a Crypto Crypto one. I mean, we purposely made unique Hex, PulseChain, PulseX ones. Does not have our logo on it. So if you don't really give a shit about the show, hey, if you don't want to wear us on your t-shirt, that's totally fine. Although we are making some Spanx right now that has Ewok's face on one butt cheek, and mine on the other.
Yeah.
But pick up some of that merch. I think you guys will really like the designs of the PulseX, and Hex shirts. We kind of collaborated on those. So
hopefully have some more to come soon. You got some ideas, let us know. We'll maybe get them on a shirt. So
yeah, for sure. We really appreciate you guys here. We will do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until next week, and for Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.